We were going to ask you, since we're on the topic of the crazy situation with you ended up signing back in New Jersey, or at least there's a few stories behind the scenes. Can you kind of go through that whole situation when you hit free agency and how you ended up back with the Devils?
Yeah, well, there's only one true story, and that is that after that season, Luke came up to me and just said, listen, you had a great season. I'm sure you're gonna have a lot of teams going after you and offering you big money. And I honestly don't think that we can afford to match that and afford to sign you. And that's it. That was very short. The season-ending meeting, and I kind of thought that it's just he's just trying to play the role, or maybe just trying to set it up. So I kind of have that in my head, and maybe for the negotiations. But throughout the summer, then there weren't any, and I was already with Alan, and there wasn't one phone call. So I start getting ready that I'm honestly gonna sign with someone else. So when the free agency started happen, I wasn't ready for that, to be honest. That was one of probably the most stressful, except playoffs, maybe, the finals and all that. That was probably one of the most stressful night of my career or of my professional hockey life. I was here, so the time change was an issue. And I started getting offers from, other teams, and we end up collecting about 12, 13 offers from team. Then it came down to about 5, and working out the numbers and years. And at the end, it was LA and Rangers. And LA said, we'll give you anything you want for how many years you want. Rangers offered something big. And that point, little did I know, I didn't want to go to LA. I kind of wanted to play for a team that still had a chance to be in the playoffs, and that was kind of my goal. And Rangers just came in hard because LA just said that they signed. They had a discussion with Rob Lake unexpectedly, that he decided to sign and play for another couple of years, and which they didn't count on. And so they had a discussion with him and signed him up for 2 more years, I think. And then they came back and said that, that they have certain amount of money for certain amount of years, and Rangers were offering a little bit more for more years. I work out with the Rangers pretty much to be agreed on the years, on the amount. And it was right after, actually, it was the year, the season prior to that was a lockout, and I ended up contracting the hepatitis. So I didn't play for 10 months, and I started to play that year, just a short season. I played only 43 games, 38 games, and I ended up with 43 points, which I had no idea how I did that in the shape I was, because I had no business of honestly putting up those numbers. But I played with Gomer and Gio, and they had an unbelievable year. So I kind of, rode away with them.
That's
a little bit.
Huge.
To be honest.
That's
yeah.
huge.
But with the Rangers, we already had an agreement. So I'm like, okay, Alan, let's make it work. Let's ask him for no trade, because I'm going to do, obviously the biggest rival across the river. I know what happened when Bobby Holik went there a couple of years before me. And if I'm doing that, and I want to have some kind of a leverage that if anything happens, they're not happy with me, that at least I can make a decision if I want to go somewhere or not eventually. And so we end up that conversation. He called Glenn Sater, and I was hoping that, or I was assuming that we're gonna sign with them, a few minutes later. And then Alan is like, "Well, this is what happened." And Glenn Sater said that they didn't give a no trade to anybody, and not even Gretzky, not even Messier and other players, which I knew they did prior to me negotiating. And I'm like, well, Alan, but I'm not gonna sign without that. It just kind of got me thinking. I'm like, Alan, if they're not gonna do it, I feel like I need to call Lou. And he's like, I don't know, let's give them a couple more minutes. Let's try to let me talk to them again. He says, well, they said there is no way that they'll give you a no trade. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give a call to Lou. So I pick up the phone myself, called Lou, and said, Lou, I'm not gonna lie, I'm obviously having a negotiation with New York, but for this amount, for this many years, and if there's any way I can sign with you guys, I'd love to stay with the Devils. And he's like, well, what if we do this? What if we do this or this? And I'm like, if you think there's any chance, please give a call to Alan and let's make it work. So Alan calls me a couple minutes later and says, Lou is willing to do the same amount, but for 1 more year. I'm like, and has no issue with no trade. I'm like, well, we got a deal. So that's how it happened. And it was
we actually got an extra year.
One more. I was going to say one less year. No, 1 more year. You must have been like giving her one of these.
No, I'm going to put it straight. I got the same amount of money, but for extra year to be, so I had average with the Rangers for, I think it was 7 million per back then. Okay. And it ended up being with the Devils for 6 million per, because we added a year, but we lowered the cap.
Same amount of money overall. Okay.
Right,
sorry.
overall,
my apologies.
Yeah. So no. So I'm like,
let's get the GoFundMe going, Granelli.
Yeah. So I'm not, I was like, after the hepatitis, I'm like, I'm fine with that. It's a lot of money for me. And, it's the way it's supposed to be, but I was just shocked, to be honest, that it happened that quickly. I'm like, in the back of my head thinking, like, how the hell he didn't even call us? Like, why didn't he even negotiate with us? Like, and then we have a deal within 5 minutes later. I am
where was he the whole summer?
Did he just by his phone waiting because he knew the call was coming?
Maybe.
He's honestly, in your brain.
I'm like, is he trying to? Was he waiting for me to make that step again? Like, to feel like this is really where I want to be. This is where I want to play. I'm like, but it was just so close for me to go to New York. And obviously, Glenn Sader wasn't really happy because we end up signing back with the Devils. And Alan is like, I can't even tell you. I don't have a long enough dictionary with the bad words to tell you what Glenn Sader was saying on the phone. And he's like, it's not going to be easy for you to come. Yeah, well, that's what I said. If he just did that, I became a Ranger. But, obviously, it just the way it happened, and it ended up the way it was supposed to be. Because to be truly honest, I couldn't have written it better. The way my career ended, the way it finished. But Lou always kind of said, I'm happy we worked it out. Remember back then, when you were on, signing and all that. He didn't. It wasn't his credit back then. It was all on me. I made that decision to give him a call and make it happen. But it was supposed to happen that way. So. Yeah, I became a Devil.